Chapter 13. Cece breath caught in her throat. Michael, look! She pointed with a stubby fingernail to the figure on the information sheet of the model house they just looked at. He squinted. Are you kidding? This house is $325,000. For what? And that's just the base price. I'm sure that doesn't include any bells and whistles they've got in the model. Michael put down the paper. Come on, let's get out of here. We can forget about new construction. It's going through the roof. They got back into the car and continued driving to their original destination, an open house nearby. Cece wrote off an unscheduled stop off as a mistake. To her disappointment, even the open house proved to be futile for the house being sold. Although relatively new, with 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and an asking price within their range, turned out to be too small. The master suite was fine, but the 3 smaller bedrooms weren't large enough to house 2 children apiece, plus a third in one of them when the baby was older. Cece felt terribly disappointed. They just begun looking, but from what she'd seen in the paper and in those free house for sale booklets, residential real estate has gotten awful expensive. She always felt Michael had been exaggerating the expense because of his frugal nature, but now she knew better. Would they really be able to manage? Michael's expedition was fairly new, but the van she drove was 7 years old and wouldn't last forever. What if it had to be replaced while they still had 2 or 3 years worth of hefty payments on the expedition? A much larger mortgage plus 2 car payments? Would they have to cut out all the extras, send out for pizza instead of having family dinners at Bennigan's or Motogo Japanese restaurants, where the chef prepared their meals right there at the table? What about their family members at the Y and the girls' soccer league? Those extras all cost money they wouldn't have if their mortgage payments suddenly quadrupled. Maybe they should skip the new house and remodel the one they had. A new master suite and bath would solve the problem, but where would they put it? Their yard was already relatively small, and adding an upstairs would be major construction. Michael broke into her thoughts. Don't get all gloomy on me, Cece. This is the first time we've looked, and you're acting like you want to give up. You didn't expect to find something today, did you? Now you're making me feel silly, she protested. Of course I didn't expect to find the perfect house today, but what we did see isn't very encouraging. We already knew that. I tell you, this kid is going to send us to the poorhouse. Yeah, she said dully, not wanting to admit just how unprepared she'd been, and too hurt to respond to his hurtful remark about the baby. We already knew. At first, Mitchie didn't recognize the strange feeling that stemmed from the base of her throat and ran into her chest. Then she realized it was envy. No wonder she hadn't been able to define it. Michelin rarely felt envious of anyone. She was accustomed to others feeling that way about her, but she couldn't help it as she watched her old friend Yolanda proudly show off her new baby. Yolanda had married Robert Isaac, a Jacksonville dentist. Before the baby, she worked as a bookkeeper for a restaurant, but she had given up her job. We want to have at least one more child, and I probably won't go back to work until my youngest is in school, she told Mitchie. Mitchie and Yolanda had grown up in the same neighborhood in Riviera Beach, largely populated by domestic and blue-collar workers who performed services in nearby super-wealthy Palm Beach. They'd gone through school together, but now Yolanda had a handsome, successful husband, a beautiful baby boy, and a lovely home. All Mitchie had was a nice car, a stunning wardrobe, a few pieces of good jewelry, and a few dollars in the bank. She essentially lived in one room, even if it was just temporarily, while she decided what part of town to settle in. Romantically, she didn't even have any real prospects. The man she'd given her phone number to at Wild Wednesday had made no secret of the fact that he was presently separated from his wife. Mitchie knew that meant he wasn't getting sex regularly and felt horny. That was all right, for she felt the same way. She was prepared to accept him at face value and have some fun. But what she didn't know yet was that he'd have to spend some money on her before she gave anything up. Her lips formed into a slight smile. He made a move on her as they left the comedy club they'd gone to, which just happened to be located inside a hotel. She gave him points for style, if not for speed. Looking around at Yolanda's comfortable surroundings made Mitchie realize she wasn't getting any younger. She really needed to start looking for a husband. The idea of being married had always appealed to her, especially if she could swing a setup like this. No way would she be like Cece, working her butt off typing all day while living in a 2x4 house and taking care of all those damn kids, half of whom weren't even hers. You know, Mitchie, Yolanda was saying, Rob has a colleague who just broke up with his girlfriend. I'd love to introduce the two of you. I think you like each other, and he's a real catch. Mitchie envy evaporated. No longer was Yolanda a braggart, rubbing her face in her domestic bliss and semi-swank lifestyle, but a friend who wanted her to meet a successful man too. Sight unseen, Michelin resolved to make Rob's dentist friend forget all about his former girlfriend, provided he was as good a catch as Yolanda said he was, and provided they were sexually compatible. No, that wasn't right. She'd wait until she had him hooked before she slept with him. If she handled it carefully, she could get her sexual gratification with the man she was seeing now. She had a date with him tonight, while giving the dentist a line that she was a good Catholic girl who didn't believe in premarital sex. In her heart, Michelin knew she could trust Yolanda's judgment. If Yolanda said he was good looking, he was sure to be just that. Mitchie had moved ahead to thinking about children's name when Yolanda said, I'll call Rob to see when we can get this set up. Wonderful, Mitchie said, feeling hopeful about the future, beating feeling jealous any day. Let me read that again. Feeling hopeful about the future, beat feeling jealous any day. Okay, that's the end of chapter 13. Chapter 14. Well, I must say, Dana said, this is a very nice surprise. Irene, sitting across from Dana in the booth, nodded in agreement. I'm beginning my Mother's Day feeling like a queen. Next to them, their respective daughters beamed. It was my idea, they said in unison, then looked at each other indignantly. It's perfectly reasonable for it to have occurred to both of you at the same time, Irene said reassuringly. She held up her menu. The ham and eggs look very tasty. What are you having, Dana? Order anything you want, Mom, Brittany said confidently. Money is no object. Well, if you're sure. Anything you want, Brittany repeated. Dana suppressed a smile. She remembered the airmail envelope that came last week addressed to Brittany from the Covingtons in Nassau. It must have contained cash so Brittany could do something special in honor of Mother's Day. Dana knew her in-laws really couldn't afford the expenditure. They put everything they could into the annuity of Niles for his care after they were gone. But they wanted her first Mother's Day without Kenny to be a happy one. She didn't know how much they sent, but she guessed they'd been generous. Perkins was one of the nicer restaurants in its category, definitely a cut above Denny's or Shoney's. In addition to Brittany's insisting that she order whatever she wanted from the menu, she had also awakened Dana with a colorful bouquet of spring flowers and presented her with a lovely sterling silver pendant, a reference to Dana's February birthday. Well, Dana said, perusing the menu, since money's no object, I'm starving. I think I'll go with the big breakfast, the one with a little bit of everything. She stole a glance over at Brittany, wanting to make sure it was all right. But Brittany showed no distress. I'm getting the blueberry pancakes. And I want the Belgian waffles with strawberry, Vanessa added. Irene flagged down a waitress. 10 minutes later, their food was delivered. My goodness, Dana, that's a lot of food, Irene exclaimed. Are you really going to finish all of that? Dana cast a satisfied look at the three large pancakes, scrambled eggs, home fried potatoes, and bacon. Oh, I'll finish it all right, but I won't eat anything else all day. I'll skip lunch, but I'll have dinner, Irene said. My poppy is taking my mama out to dinner, Vanessa announced happily. Oh, how nice, Dana said, careful not to let the wistfulness she felt creep into her voice. Kenny used to take her out for Mother's Day. They used to celebrate the night before when the restaurants were less crowded. This year, this meal would be the high point of her weekend. Although she had lunch with Sean on Thursday, he told her he would be unable to see her this weekend because he would be spending the afternoon with his mother. Absently, she wondered if he planned on seeing his estranged wife as well. Irene looked a little embarrassed at Vanessa's outburst. Because of her fair complexion, the color of milk with a few chocolate drops, it was easy to tell she was blushing. Between her happiness and Vanessa's, Dana wondered if perhaps a reconciliation was in the works between Irene and Gil, whom she hadn't seen since their lunch together. Oh, she's with the doctor's wife. Okay. She couldn't understand why that prospect made her feel sad, because he was flirting with you, girl. You got your hopes up. Norrell awoke in a sour mood. In honor of Mother's Day, one of the cable networks was showing a feature of Imitation of Life, Stella Dallas, Mildred Pierce, and Madam X, all classic stories of maternal sacrifice. That programming executive was going to have half the country dabbing at their eyes. She absolutely hated Mother's Day. Not only did it remind her of how much she missed her own mother, but it reminded her of her own longing for a child, a longing she now knew would never be fulfilled. She shuffled languidly to the front door when the doorbell sounded, her colorful caftan billowing behind her as she walked, not caring that the soles of her slippers were scratching her gleaming tile-edged hardwood floors. Vic had invited a few friends over to watch the NBA semifinals. Somebody must be arriving early. Vic had gone to pick up some Chinese food and hadn't returned yet, and she had the set tuned into Imitation of Life. She used to enjoy the glossy Ross Hunter production with its Jean Louise outfit, but now she felt that Lena Turner delivered her lines with all the genius of cubic zirconia. Who is it? Norrell asked through the closed door. Dana and Cece, said the second voice in the same sing-song manner. Norrell's mouth dropped open. She quickly reached to unlatch the door and flung it open. We thought you could stand some company this afternoon, Dana exclaimed as they entered the house. But it's Mother's Day. That's the point, Cece said. But you've got your own families. What are you doing out here with me? The mere thought of Dana and Cece wanting to spend Mother's Day with her made her get all choked up, and her voice broke. Now, we're not having any of that, Dana admonished. Michael's watching the kids so I could enjoy the afternoon, Cece added. They're busy making dinner for me. Norrell smiled at her two best friends through vision blurred by tears. You two are the best. She held out her arms and they moved in for a group hug. They just sat in the living room when Vic returned. Hi, girls, Vic greeted cheerfully as he passed through on his way to the kitchen, a white plastic bag hanging from each hand. Hi, Vic. Norrell noted that he didn't seem surprised to see Dana and Cece. She walked over to assist him with unloading the bags. Vic, you brought enough food for an army, Norrell commented as she lifted carton after carton from the bags. Who's coming anyway? Just Rodney and Gregory, and of course Dana and Cece. You did know they were coming, she exclaimed. We didn't think it was such a hot idea to just show up unannounced in case you really weren't in a mood, Cece said. Vic said it would be fine for us to surprise you. Norrell gave Vic's arm an affectionate squeeze. It was a good surprise, thank you. The doorbell rang just as she finished talking. I'll get it, Vic said. I'll get the plates and stuff, Dana offered, rising. There's paper plates in the pantry, Norrell called out. At the door, Vic greeted Rodney, then called out to someone who was apparently just pulling up. They all came inside together. Norrell soon saw there were 5 more guests, not 3. Rodney had brought 2 of his sons along. Good thing Vic brought plenty of food. She greeted her guests. Cece already knew Rodney and Norrell introduced her to Gregory. Gregory was a bounty hunter whose service Vic used to track down his clients who skipped bail. It didn't happen often. Vic didn't post bail for clients unless their family members or very good friends gave him an impression that they would move heaven and earth to get the incarcerated individual out of jail. He often said that if Grandma was reluctant to put up her house for the imprisoned, it was probably because she knew he or she wasn't any good, so why should he risk it? Dana emerged from the kitchen and set the plates and plastic utensils on the table. Okay, guys, I think we should hit this before it gets cold. Ladies first, Vic said. No, you men fix your plates first, Norrell said, so we can sit at the table and talk while y'all watch the game. Dana greeted Rodney and said hello to his sons. Then she introduced herself to the man she hadn't met before. At maybe 6'3" and in 300-pound range, he looked like a linebacker, an overweight one. His large size probably prevented him from doing much running without getting short of breath. Ah, so you're Dana. It's nice to meet you. You've heard of me? Gregory looked embarrassed. Ah, Norrell talks about you frequently. I understand you and she are real good friends and now business partners as well. Yes, we are. Instantly, Dana knew Norrell was trying to fix her up with this bear of a man to get her away from Sean. It annoyed her, but she couldn't take it out on Gregory. He seemed nice enough, even though he gave her the impression that he liked to gobble her up like a turkey dinner. She was searching for a pleasant parting comment so she could make a graceful exit when Vic joined them. I see you two have met, Vic said, putting her arm around each of them like he was proud of them or something. This is my main man, Dana. No one can hide from him. Hide? Why would anyone want to hide from him? Hide from you, Gregory, Dana asked. Because I'm a bounty hunter. Bounty hunter, Dana repeated. That makes me think of the Wild West. Do they still exist? People jump bail every day, Gregory replied with a smile, but instead of horses, I use airplanes and cars. He's the best in Southeast, Vic said. Cece and Dana moved the food cartons off to one end of the table while Norrell fixed beverages for the men. Then they fixed their own plates and settled in to eat. Dana, did you greet Gregory? Norrell asked. Yes, I did. A sixth sense urged her to glance over at the area near the Bellamy's wide-screen television. Sure enough, Gregory's gaze was affixed to her. But instead of being embarrassed at having been caught, his smile merely broadened. Dana simply flashed a quick, insincere smile, the kind she used for posed photographs, and turned away. So what you think? Norrell pressed. I didn't. She calmly helped herself to another helping of rice. Cece jumped into the branch. Well, guys, it's officially. Michael and I have begun house hunting. We went out last weekend and again yesterday. She deliberately left out the parts where Michael's still being cool towards her because of the coming baby. And that's the prospect of finding a large enough house they could afford looking dismal. That's wonderful, Cece, Dana exclaimed. Glad to have the conversation on a matter other than Gregory. I knew Michael would come around sooner or later. Well, that's good news, Norrell said. It's miraculous how all of you can live in the house you have now without falling over each other's feet. Dana's eyes grew wide. How could Norrell say such a thing? Cece glared at her. Well, Norrell, if you had 6 kids, this house would seem small too. Norrell's lower lip quivered. Ooh, I just caught that. Ooh, they be hitting below the belt. Norrell's lower lip quivered, and Cece covered her mouth with her hands, like she realized too late that her reference to children must have cut like a sharp blade, and it did. I'm sorry, Norrell, she said. I didn't mean to be so thoughtless, but you weren't exactly considerate yourself. I know. I apologize. I guess I'm a little jealous of you because you can have a baby just like that and I can't. I'm sorry, Norrell. I wish I had the answers, but I don't. Norrell sighed. I know. She turned to Dana. So where is Brittany this afternoon? Did you leave her home alone? Dana took a moment to let out a breath she's been holding. The exchange between Norrell and Cece had the potential to get really nasty, but now it looked like it would be all right. Oh, thank God. Sometimes she could just strangle Norrell. That girl really needed to learn to control that mouth of hers. No, I made a deal with her best friend's her best friend mother. She's watching Brittany this afternoon, and when she goes out with her ex-husband tonight, Vanessa will stay with me. Now she realized why she had that sinking feeling when she heard about Irene's dinner with Gil. Irene had a second chance with her husband, while hers was gone forever. As mothers of best friends, she and Irene had known each other for 6 years, but Irene had always been closed-mouthed, almost haunting in her bearing. When she and Irene made arrangements to watch each other's children, she volunteered her plans to spend the afternoon with a friend whose difficulty conceiving would make the day difficult. But Irene mentioned nothing about her plans to dine with Gil. If Vanessa hadn't blurted out Irene's plans at breakfast, she still wouldn't know about it. Cece relaxed in her chair. The unpleasant moment had passed, but she dreaded having to tell Norrell she was pregnant again. She'd have to put it off as long as she could. After they finished eating, they cleared the table. Amid the cheers of the fellows gathered around the television, let's go outside and watch Mildred Pierce, Norrell suggested. Hey, you don't want to watch the game with us? Vic asked, sounding playfully insulted. Vic, you know basketball bores me. At least it's not always the Bulls, like it was when Jordan was playing, Rodney said. Gregory laughed. Yeah, back in the day, everybody pretty much knew the outcome. I know there were times I was hoping somebody would drop a barbell on his head. No one said a word, and all eyes, other than Gregory and Rodney's son, turned to Dana, who found her spine had suddenly gone unnaturally stiff. Come on, girls, let's go see Joan Crawford and her shoulder pads, Norrell said hastily. Then a player on one of the teams made a stunning three-point shot, and admiring shouts broke the awkward moment. As Dana passed on her way to the stairs, she noticed Vic lean over and whisper something to Gregory, who winced and hung his head. The movie had already begun when they tuned in, because the game went into overtime. It was in its closing seconds when Dana, Cece, and Norrell came downstairs after the film ended. When Dana said goodbye to Gregory, who conveniently stood in a dining room isolated from the others, he reached out and grasped her forearm. Dana, I said something very insensitive before. I didn't know about your husband. I'm really sorry. There was no way you could know. I realize that. But thanks. I appreciate your concern. She smiled at him and slipped away. She sincerely meant what she said. Anyone could make a mistake if they didn't know all the facts. It actually worked out to her advantage, for she'd been sure that Gregory would have asked her out otherwise. He seemed nice enough, and he certainly was different from anyone she'd known, but his size and in his profession, but she simply didn't find him attractive, and that was that. It looks like Gregory's sweet on you, Cece said to Dana on the drive home. He'll get over it, I'm sure. Did I tell you about the guy I met last week at Wild Wednesday? No. What are you doing meeting a guy? I was sitting alone while you all were dancing. He obviously thought I was available. He was fine with a capital F, dark skin with big brown eyes and a great build. Anyway, he said to me, "Hi there, I'm Casanova." Casanova? My thoughts exactly, which is why I said, "Sure you are. I'm Madame Pompadour." From a stunned look on his face, I realized he was telling the truth, but there was no way for me to take the words back. Dana signed. Is there a point to the story, Cece? Exactly. Besides the fact that parents should give more thought to the names they chose for their kids. Of course, try not to hold Gregory's remark against him. How could he possibly have known Kenny died lifting weights? What he said has nothing to do with it. He apologized to me when we were leaving. I think Vic tipped him off, but he's not my type. Besides, I'm already seeing Sean, who's got a wife tucked away and a car that used to belong to Kenny. Dana signed. Not you too, Cece. Norrell has already made it clear that she's against it too. You're vulnerable, Dana. You know it, and I'm sure he knows it too. I'm not going to get attached to Sean, Cece. So you say, but the whole thing gives me the creeps. Hey, you want some gummy bears? She put her hand in the bag on the console. God, no. Because of you, I'm all gummied out. I can't even eat jelly beans anymore. Dana watched as Cece scooped up the handful of candy. She hoped Cece saw her dentist regularly. Those things could be murder on a person's teeth, and Cece downed them as if they were one of the 4 basic food groups. And speaking of giving me the creeps, I'm glad Norrell's leaning against having vitro, Cece said after she swallowed. And why's that? If you ask me, I'm carrying science too far. I think if you can't have a baby the natural way, you should just adopt or forget about it. Easy for you to say you've got kids. Yes, bless their pain in the butt hearts. But if I didn't, I wouldn't even consider having any artificial process. Again, that's easy for you to say. Try to imagine how you feel if you and Michael decided you wanted a child together and you couldn't because you had your tubes tied. Would you want to have it reversed? And what if you still didn't get pregnant? You might sing a different tune then. Cece paused. It's a moot point, Dana. My tubes untied by themselves. I'm pregnant now. Dana drew in her breath. You're pregnant? Even after a tubal ligation? Oh, I get it. That's why you're looking for a new place. I can't very well have a baby sleep on the roof, can I? How far along are you? The doctor says 2 months, so we're looking at mid-December. I didn't want to say anything because I don't know how Norrell's going to take it. Promise me you won't tell her. I promise. No way am I getting in the middle of that. Dana feared that the relationship between Cece and Norrell was about to get a lot worse. Friendship alone had great values, but now they had a lot more at stake. She hoped CDN could survive the storms that was sure to come. Okay, that's the end of chapter 14. Okay, so these 2 chapters were lackluster to say the least. Kind of pointless. And I guess they got to throw in some pointless chapters from time to time. So I'm going to try to get through it and just get through the book and see if it picks up. But I guess this is a point in the book where it's going a little down, and then hopefully it's going to come back up and stay up a little longer, then probably go back down because we got 53 chapters and we only at chapter 14. So let's see what the next chapter holds. I shall see you all in chapter 15. Bye.